goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. Do the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, flying rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, cause I'm hard to make everything feel fine. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yo. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around me, throw that to the side, yo. I get those goosebumps every time.
Off the mugs. Yes, sir.
Yes!
Come on. Get in.
Get in.
You've already got those glasses on, fella.
We're at the ready.
They're back. There's only a week's absence, but they're back. They are back. Welcome to Loaded Bag NUFC. We are back for the match reaction. It was Southampton against Newcastle at St. Mary's today. The 3 o'clock kickoff, and the boys have certainly hit back with a reaction. It's what we asked for. Chris, Daz as well. And we certainly got that. But shout out to Daz, obviously, with the storm that's going on at the moment. I think his connection's all down. So we may see him, we may not, but hopefully everything's all right and he's safe and well. So best wishes to him. But welcome to everyone in the chat. Of course, we're going to keep the housekeeping. We're going to get that out early doors. Make sure you are clicking the likes. And if you're new to the channel, celebrating this fantastic win with us, make sure you're subscribing to the channel as well. Let's get those likes up. Come on, we want 250 likes by the end of this show. I will remind you all as we're going along. 250, I think, is a fair number to get to. So let's get us to a quick 100, eh? Let's get us to a quick 100. But welcome to everyone in the chat. Your comments, your questions, get them in. Me and Chris are going to go through them. We might not rigorously go through the details of the game like Daz would normally do, but we're going to talk about all the talking points and some of the news of the fallout of this game today. That is for sure. But Chris, just in general, mate, how you feeling on this now very much fine Saturday evening?
Yeah, really pleased, mate. Really pleased. We didn't get off to the best of starts, did we? So I did have a little bit of a wobble. I was thinking, oh no, we're not going to go on another run of really, disappointing performances and unfortunate, results. But yeah, we turned it round. And to be fair, from the off, I did get the impression that we were in a good place. So I kind of had the hope. But yeah, in general, mate, I'm very good. Really pleased to be back to winning ways, and it was nice seeing teams around us dropping points as well. I'm not going to lie, so that was a welcome surprise. But yeah, I'm very good, mate, very good. We miss Dazzler, don't we? So Daz, if you're watching at some point, or if you're watching now, mate, we are thinking of you. Hope all is well, and hopefully you and the family are all good, mate. But yeah, I'm good, Pete. How are you doing, fella?
I'm great. I'm not going to lie. We enjoyed a couple of these bad boys. 3 points in the bag. Like you said, results have been relatively okay for us today. I can't complain. I'm not going to complain at all. Just finished watching the late game. And yeah, I think things are definitely looking up again for Newcastle United. So lots of reason to be positive and to be happy about what's gone on this weekend so far. So let's get into it. So I've got a little sort of tail of the tape, just some pictures, and we can get through some conversations and various other things, and I'm sure there'll be a few ole going on as we're going through the show. That is for sure. But look, Chris, we'll go through the teams, go through the starting lineups of the game. Any noticeable differences? Anything that you saw that surprised you? Anything in there that you expected? Obviously, there was one change. Botman was out onto the bench and Shaw came in. But what did you make when you saw? What did you make of the lineup when you saw it, fella?
Like we said. No. Do you know what? No, I always pride on ourselves, Pete. That we always do our best with the lineups, mate. And you know what? Like we said that on away days, didn't we? And we took some stick. We took some stick for suggesting that Sven Botman was going to be rested for this game. And for we said that we felt that the centre back pairing would be Dan Burn and Fabian Schär. So I must admit, Pete, very smugly, there was no surprises for me. I suppose the biggest surprise, if you can call it a surprise, because I think we all kind of knew it was going to happen, was Nick Pope being on the bench. That was the biggest surprise for me. But even then, I wasn't that shocked. I think, well, we'll get into it, I'm sure. But Martin Dubravka, in my opinion, has the number 1 jersey, literally, and I think that Nick Pope's going to have to go some, to try and win that jersey back. But no, in terms of the lineup, mate, no surprises. Very pleased with that lineup, and I went into the game very confident.
Yeah, as did I, mate. I'm not going to lie, it was the same. And for me, maybe the biggest surprise was Southampton's lineup. No Ramsdale in the team, which I think was a big miss for them. Even more of a miss, Selemana, who has been in decent form for them and caused lots of other teams previously some problems. Forest and Man United in the last 2 games, he wasn't in the team at all, so they'd had to make a few changes. We knew that Tyler Dibling was out, so 3 of their real key players were missing, and so that was really biggest thing from the lineups that I kind of came away with. Were you sort of the same with Southampton? Oh,
sorry, I just realised. No, I was exactly the same. Yeah, when I saw Sulemana was out, that was a big plus. Other than that, and maybe Manning, I'm not sure. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe Mike selected Manning, so that was a bit of a shock. I think he had Sugawara. He had Sugawara in. But yeah. Obviously, Sulemana being out, he's a big threat, and he's a player who can cause teams problems. So yeah, I was really pleased, and I was more intrigued by how they were going to line up actually, because I know Mike mentioned that Armstrong was pretty decent on the wing, but I know when I checked it on Live Score, it suggested that Onuachu and Armstrong were both going to be playing as a 2 up front, which I found quite intriguing. But then I don't think that was the case in the end.
I was going to say Mike said that one of them would probably play on the wing, and he thought it might be Armstrong. So it kind of looked that way. Was it that? Did you get the same feeling from that?
Yeah. No, exactly that, mate. Exactly that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the Southampton lineup, great seeing Ramsdale out as well, like you mentioned. And funnily enough, that was the rumor, wasn't it? That was breaking news on away days, because Mike had put Ramsdale in the team, and somebody in the chat was like, "Oh, I think Ramsdale's out," and it turned out that was correct. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. Yeah, absolutely, and it came out to be good, and it wasn't available, so a big plus for us. Just before we go on, like, Jimmy, come on, man, come on. Jimmy's clicked the like, just like everybody else has. We've got well over 100 in the chat. He's definitely clicked the chat, click the like, and welcome to the chat, Jimmy. Hope you are well. And I agree with Claire, just to take it away from you for a second.
Oh yeah, go for it, mate.
It is Jimmy's favorite song, the Goosebumps.
It is.
He argues against it, but I think he's
love-hating it.
He plays it during the week when we're not on in anticipation of the show. That's the feeling that I get. But
100%.
Fella, we'll get into the game. The first 5 minutes, and I want to get your opinion on this. First 5 minutes, I thought we looked good. I thought we looked strong. I thought we were pressing high. We looked good on the ball. And then after that sort of 5 minute spell, for the next 5 or 10, we just seemed to sort of drop back off and allow Southampton space, which then created the goal. So ball in from Bree, whipped into the area, Benanek gets onto it, free header right in the middle of the goal. Burn gets pulled out, Shaw gets drawn in, header into the goal. Nothing that Dubravka could do, in my opinion. But when that goal went in, what was your reaction to that? Like, just give us your take on the goal that Southampton scored? Because I'll be honest, I was shocked by it.
Yeah, it was definitely against someone to play. My overriding feeling was annoyance, if I'm honest, because I felt like Dan Burn got pulled out of position, and do you know what? That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. But you make sure that you deal. I think I've put it in the chat. You deal with it. You make sure that you put it out for a corner, you put it out for a throw in, you do whatever you do, you clear your lines and you get back into position. Now, unfortunately, Dan Burn put a tackle in, and Kyle Walker-Peters, I suppose if you're going to give credit, Kyle Walker-Peters managed to elude that tackle. And then I think he laid it back to, was it Bree? I think it was Bree. Laid it back to Bree. Bree puts the cross in, and it's 1-0. And yeah, really, really frustrating because the man in the middle who scored the goal, he ended up just being unmarked. So Bednarek had a free header at goal. And yeah, I felt like, I know some people, someone in the chat there, said about Tino, maybe could have done a bit better with it. Maybe, kind of reacted to the fact that Dan Burn wasn't there in the middle because he'd been pulled out, and Fabian Schär as well. But it was just a disappointing goal to concede because, like you say, we'd made a positive start to the game. So yeah, it was frustrating. But as we've seen a few times this season, Pete, we went 1-0 down. It was just like, right, hands down, heads down, and let's concentrate and get back on level terms. So I wasn't worried by any stretch, but it was just frustrating, is what I'd describe it as. But what were your thoughts on the first goal, Pete?
Yeah, honestly, mate, it was one of shock to begin with. Really, really shocked at the fact that we were 1-0 down. I didn't expect it, especially because of the way we started in the first 5 minutes. I thought we really started strong, and I thought, yeah, we're going to really take the game to Southampton. So the fact that we let that goal go in, yes, Jimmy. And that annoyed me. It annoyed me a lot. You're right in terms of your mention of Tino Livramento. The players should naturally shift over, and I think they all do, apart from him. Even I think it's Murphy. Even Murphy tucks in almost as a right back to allow Tino to push on, and he doesn't. But the thing is that hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. Is it Bredenek? Who scored the goal? Like he's good in the air. He's strong. He's tall, physical. He's probably much better in the air, significantly better in the air than Tino. But it doesn't mean that you can't put him off getting a clear and free header in the box. I just think that Tino, maybe his positioning was off, but he could have done a little bit more to put him off that, to stop him getting a clear free header right in the middle, pretty much where the penalty spot is, to be able to head that ball into the net. Nothing that Dubravka could do, because it was a great header right into the corner, into the side net, and there's nothing he can do about it. But we could have done more to stop that. And I just think it was the one thing we didn't want going into that game, is just to allow Southampton to get any sort of footing in the game. But I will say, and I don't know if you agree with this is probably, well, I imagine you will, but it was probably the spark that helped us kick on into this game, because it kind of brings me on to the next point. Is that I would say from that moment, we started to turn the screw. We started to play football a lot more attacking. The thing that annoyed me is that we were playing very safe. So there was the continued passing across the back, not really trying to break the lines and get the ball forward. When we did, the final ball wasn't great. But we started to really turn the screw and really push ourselves forward and impose ourselves on the game. And in particular, the midfield really started to get a foothold in the game. Tonali, Joe Linton, Bruno and we started to create a few chances, a few corners, a few opportunities. Didn't quite materialize. I thought there were some good moves, and then not really the final ball, until we have Bruno Guimaraes that's on the edge of the box, and he finds himself, after a breakdown of a move, the ball gets recycled. He plays the ball into Alexander Isak, who's slightly on the right-hand side of the Southampton box, and he goes in. It's a brilliant first touch. He goes in, and he gets brought down, and it was given a corner. It was given a corner. Wasn't given a penalty. The referee then is told by VAR to go and look at the screen, and then is awarded a penalty. and Alexander Isak is the man that steps up. But Chris, talk us through your kind of version of that goal and how you saw it, the decision, the award, and then the penalty finish. What were your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, so I was surprised when viewing it live. I was surprised that the referee gave a corner because my initial thought was penalty. Then I watched it back because obviously, as we all know, it went to VAR. So we saw about 4 different angles and we saw it about 12 times. And every time I was watching it, I don't know about anybody else, but the stream I was watching, every time I was watching it, I was more and more convinced it was a penalty. And I sent you a voice note, didn't I, Pete? Because I couldn't believe that the commentator was just like, yeah, great decision, correct decision, yeah, never a penalty. Then he realizes very quickly that the referee's going to be sent to the screen. The referee goes to the screen. Referee doesn't take that long, has a little look at it, and gives a penalty because obviously we're assuming his VAR colleagues have recommended when they recommend them to go to the screen. I think they're basically saying, we think you've made a mistake. You might want to have another little look at it. Now, we have seen the referee stand by the decision, but not for one moment when he went to that screen did I think he was going to stand by his decision. But I just couldn't believe that the commentators, I mean, were they biased? Were they, just not watching what we were watching? I don't know. But for me, it was a Stonewall penalty. A Stonewall penalty. He gets his foot. His argument was, the commentator was that the defender planted his foot in front of Alexander Isak and didn't move his foot, just planted it there. And his argument was that meant it wasn't a penalty. And it's like, well, no, because he's put a part of his body in the way of Alexander Isak as he's running. And his co-commentator said, yeah, Alexander Isak ran into his leg. And it was like, he ran into his leg because he put his leg there. That's the whole issue. He's attempted to get the ball, is nowhere near the ball, and therefore it's a foul, it's a penalty. So that really threw me. But then I'm going to talk about the best part now. So Alexander Isak steps up, and we know he's ice cold in those kind of positions, very cool, very calm. And he slots the penalty away with aplomb. It's a lovely penalty. Sends the keeper the wrong way. And I think the Newcastle United account might have tweeted saying never in doubt, and it wasn't in doubt for me. It just really wasn't. As soon as he stepped up, I knew he put the ball in the net. And I think it was Claire G who said in the comments there, that was the turning point. As soon as we scored that goal, it was almost as if the players were like, right, now let's get to it. Let's get on with it and let's get ourselves in the lead. And ultimately, that's exactly what we did. But yeah, for me, Stonewall penalty and great finish from Alexander Isak.
Yes, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely Stonewall. You're absolutely right. And yeah, Kev T says it. The commentators, of course, I think we had. Some people had different commentators, but we had Effinakoko that was.
Oh, was it Effinakoko? Right. Okay.
On the game, and of course, while watching it through fully legal means, we had Effinakoko telling us that it wasn't a penalty and it was very harsh on Southampton, which I find absolutely baffling. As do you, Chris, and as do many others in the chat that are pretty much saying exactly the same. It's a penalty all day long. The first touch was absolutely exquisite, and all he needs to do then is pull the trigger, and he fully intends to. But the defender, the player, Southampton player, doesn't get a touch on the ball, so he's not there to win the ball. He stops Isak pulling the trigger, and he connects with his foot. So as Isak's coming through to hit the ball, he connects and stops Isak hitting the ball. That's the foul. Anywhere else on the pitch is a foul. So therefore, it's a penalty. It's as simple as that. My annoyance was the referee didn't see it because it was blatant. Even from all the different angles that they showed, you could see what had happened. You could see that he didn't touch the ball. You could see that there was a clear contact with Alexander Isak. The reaction of all the players tells you it is. So the fact that he pointed to a corner was just like, what is going on here? But yeah, well, I'm glad that one commentator did. The Norwegian commentator said that. So I'm glad that where you were watching the game, you got a decent commentator on that from that perspective. But look, it's a penalty. It is. And it's a brilliant penalty, as you said, Chris. You're never really in doubt. There's a couple of penalties Isak took last season where you're a little bit suspect about him, particularly the Burnley one. He missed it, and you're a bit like, oh, okay. But look, now 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, you trust Alexander Isak to put the ball in the net. And he had a different style. Normally, he runs up to the ball with pace. He uses his power. He whips the ball either side of the goal. But he had a little bit of stutter about him. So he lets McCarthy go first. McCarthy dives, and then he just slots it into whichever corner he's not. And it's a great penalty. And what I loved about it, Chris, don't know if you noticed it or anyone in the chat noticed it, he just runs up, no celebration, runs up, gets the ball back to the centre spot. We need more. We need to get this next goal. And I tell you what, Chris, it wasn't long to wait until we got the next goal, because just 4 short minutes later, we were back. It looked like the 3 there, but it was actually 4. It's just the thing there. There is 4 minutes. 4 minutes later, the boys are back in action again, and Tonali and Murphy connect really, really well. Nice little passes of play. Murphy driving into the middle and plays up. To be fair, the ball had some whip on it, had some pace onto Isak, and Isak was running into the middle. There you go, Peter. You're absolutely right. The ball into Isak. Isak's first touch just allows him into that space, and it's a first time finish into the far corner. And Alexander Isak has another brace to his name as he wheels off. And I love that celebration that he does. He's just celebrating like, he's almost saying, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that goal? And at this point, I imagine we were all on cloud 9 right now. But Chris, as that ball hits the net, in off the post, what were your reactions, mate? What did you make of the goal? Tonali, Murphy, Isak finish. Talk to me, fella.
Well, I did what I don't normally do, Pete. I sent a few voice notes today, but they were like live in the action kind of voice notes, because I reacted, and then I was like kind of reacting to what I was seeing. But yeah, like I'm still now torn, and we'll come to this at the end. I'm torn over whether I preferred the second goal or the third goal. I'm torn, mate, because I thought both were absolutely brilliant. And you'll remember me waxing lyrical over Jacob Murphy. I think Jacob Murphy, as you say, he kind of picked the ball up, but then he did he do? Is it, or am I getting confused? Did he do like a little chip over the Southampton player? I want to say it was what's the central midfielder called who's on loan from Chelsea? Uga Kochi or something?
Yeah. The central midfielder.
Yeah. Can't think of his name. Where's the thing? I'll be able to see it. It's on the pictures, isn't it? It's on the lineups. I'll see it. Ogachuru, yeah. I think he does. I think he chips it over Ogachuru's like head in order. So like the ball's bouncing and he flicks it over his head, carries on, like you said, drives through the middle, spots Isak, plays like a fizz ball. It wasn't just like I'll just flick it forwards. He proper fizzed it. And Peter Moyle was spot on, when he said that Isak's first touch was brilliant, but yeah, it was such a good finish. And I think it actually went in off the post, didn't it? He literally got it right in the corner. It was a sublime finish. I'm trying to impress Kev now with my words, but yeah, it was a sublime finish. And yeah, it was just a really, really well worked goal. And yeah, as soon as Isak's in that space and he takes that extra yards, we saw it a little bit. It's a different goal, obviously, but we saw it with the goal that Isak scored against Liverpool. Where Bruno fizzed it into him, and Isak takes that touch, gets half a yard on Van Dijk, and then just hammers it. It wasn't like that goal, but the first touch enables him to get that space. And as soon as Isak's got that space, you know that he's going to get a shot on. And it was a brilliant finish. Really, really brilliant finish.
It really was a sublime finish from Alexander Isak, and it's just that absolute touch of gold dust that every team needs when you've just got that player that has that little bit of magic that just makes the difference in a football team. And Alexander Isak has that. So the ball gets fizzed in lovely, but the fact that Isak's able to take that one touch out seamlessly and then just slot it into that far corner in off the post, it's just a brilliant finish. And it's exactly what Newcastle United needed. 2-1 up, And maybe, just maybe, we get to throw out the Isak goal. Yeah, there we go. There we go. We got the Isak goal in there. It's a lovely finish, and at this point, I think most people were like, "Okay, we're in the league now. We're in the lead. This is where we wanted to be. We're relaxed in that situation." And to be fair, Chris, going on for the rest of the half, we looked in control. There was a chance not long after that. Murphy plays the ball right into Isak. Isak, in a world of space, he gets played in. He gets time to touch. He turns. He smashes the ball as if he puts it into the far corner, but McCarthy makes a good save. He could have had 3 or 4 before halftime, potentially. He was very, very good. Very, very good in that. But we were creating chances time after time after time. We'll come on to we'll start.
We'll definitely come on to that. Yeah, let's start that.
I've had a bit of a chat with our Wolfie this afternoon, so we'll update the people on how he is. We'll give a Wolfie watch in just a little short time. But halftime, Chris, 2-1. Happy with what we're seeing and expecting more. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. It was fantastic to go in at half time in the lead, particularly when you concede an early one. So to go in half time in front was brilliant. Fully deserved as well, by the way. But yeah, I was just hopeful that in the second half we would get the next goal, because obviously when you go 3-1 up, you're even more confident. But yeah, really, really good display. Shame about the first goal that we conceded, but it was just one of those things. It was just an error, but it was great. The lads showed great personality, in order to come back and make sure they got themselves back in the lead. And I think going in at half time 2-1 up was really, really good.
Absolutely. And we're coming to the second half, and we expect Newcastle to take the game to Southampton, but it's Southampton that come out of the blocks a little bit quicker than us, and they make Martin Dubravka pull out a save. So an early corner, it comes out, and I can't remember who gets this sort of overhead kick, but Dubravka doesn't quite clear the ball. He comes out, punches it, kind of bobbles up into the air. There's a player, and I can't remember for the life of me who comes in. It doesn't really matter. It's not a Newcastle player. They overhead kick it in, and Dubravka pushes it over the bar. Decent save, and you're thinking, oh, this is not what we need. Just after half time, we want to be taking the game to Southampton and really pushing them on. However, we do, because not long after that, we have our moment. We have our moment where Shaw plays a fantastic ball long up the pitch, off the right-hand side, right to left. I think you touched on this yourself, Chris. Fabian Shaw, when he plays that ball to Alexander Isak, the way which he controls it and plays it into the path of Gordon. But in between that, Sandro Tonali, that ball that goes long, the work rate that he gets in to get on the end of that, to get that header in the middle of the park, which then allows the next phase of play to happen. The ball from Isak to Gordon into Tonali in on goal, and then just whips the ball into the far corner. 3-1 Newcastle United. And look, tell me, mate, what was your reaction when that hit the back of the net? Because that was that for me was game, set, and match.
Yeah. I felt like the game was done then. Do you know what? I'm gonna side with Sophie B here. Sophie B says the shoulder down from Isak down to Gordon first time through the ball for Tonali was sublime football. It was sublime football. Do you know what? I'm going to agree with Sophie there. I actually think the third goal was my favourite now when I think back to it. It was that shoulder, wasn't it? It was the fact, like you said, that Sandro Tonali, lung bust and run. He starts the move, and then Alexander Isak uses a little bit of improvisation, shoulders it to Gordon. And by the way, people will say, or some people may say, that Gordon's ball was easy, but when you're hitting it on the volley and you've just received the ball from a shoulder, Gordon shows his awareness, his spatial awareness to know Sandro Tonali's running through first time through ball, and Sandro Tonali cool and calm under pressure. I thought it was Alexander Isak for a minute, the way he finished it, because he opens his body out, looks like he's going to put it in the far corner, and then just takes a little moment and then just puts it into the near side of the keeper. Fantastic finish. But yeah, when it went 3-1, to be honest, I actually thought that we were going to score a few more, actually, the way we were playing. But you knew the game was done at 3-1, didn't you? That as soon as you made it 3-1, you kind of knew or felt that the game was done. So fantastic goal. And it capped off a brilliant performance from Sandro Tonali as well.
Absolutely. I thought he was absolutely brilliant today. Again, I think we feel like we're saying that every week about him, but he was absolutely brilliant again. And as we said, wins the ball in midfield. You know, a 50-50 could have gone either way, but the fact that we didn't give it up, a real aggressive approach to the game, that he was determined to win the ball, that starts to move, like you said, Isak to Gordon playing that ball on the volley into Tonali. But the fact that Tonali wins that header and then just doesn't rest on his laurels, he carries on running, he drives forward and then gets on the end of that. And it's a lovely finish. He almost does the goalkeeper with the eyes. It's brilliant. The fact that he's just like, he looks like he maneuvers his body as if he's going to go into the far corner and then just whips it near post. And I have to say, the reaction of the player and the fans running into the away end to celebrate was absolutely superb, and it was great to see. And it's really good to see Sandro Tonali celebrating with the away fans and really kind of giving it one with them. He really seems connected with the fan base right now, and it's great to see the fact that he's scoring and he's celebrating. But I have to. It's a beautiful level of football that we were playing. We played some lovely stuff today. And yeah, some of us might have expected 5, 6, 7s, and we probably could have scored it. We'll talk about a couple of opportunities after that. But some of the football we played today, it definitely fills us with confidence. And that was 3-1. You could see Southampton's heads drop. You could see that at that point, they'd almost sort of conceded the game. And we kept pushing. There was opportunities. Murphy hits the post. There was opportunities down the left-hand side where we were just cutting it back and not quite getting on the end of it. Joe Linton has one cleared off the line. There are chances that we have, and then they get one late on. A goal back, a mistake by Shaw. Ball gets played long. Shaw should really go and attack the ball. He doesn't. He lets it drop. And it runs through from Mateus Fernandes, and he strokes that home. Luckily for us, VAR comes to our rescue, and he is absolutely offside. And another sigh of relief from Newcastle United. The game finishes 3-1, Chris. We win the match. Everybody's happy, including the players. And we celebrate in the dressing room as we only know how. I think all the boys are there. Great to see so many in attendance with the staff as well. Everyone's smiling faces, and we pick up the 3 points, mate. So just give me your assessment on overall the match, the result, the performance. How did you find it all?
Yeah, I thought today it was important that we bounced back. We know that it's very congested up at the top of the table. I'm sure we'll come to the table at some point, but we know how tight it is up there. And if we've got any aspirations of getting European football, possibly Champions League, these are the matches you've got to win. You've got to win these matches. There's no excuses. Southampton surprised me a little bit today because they showed a bit of fight. And I know that Mike said he feels like they're down, and most fans would say that they are down, but they do have something. I do feel there is potential for them to possibly do something. I know it's looking highly unlikely. Don't get me wrong. I think they're still only on 6 points, aren't they? So it's going to be an uphill battle. But there's some encouraging signs from them, and it was never going to be easy. We knew the previous week that I think Nottingham Forest were 3-0 up against them, weren't they? And then they pulled it back to 3-2. And I did think as soon as they scored, I did think, oh God, are we going to have to hang on here for another 7 or 8 minutes like Forest did? But thankfully the goal got ruled out. Funnily enough, Pete, I know you mentioned about you mentioned about Fabian Schär not attacking the ball. It was funny because as soon as that happened, I thought of you straight away, because I know you've mentioned it previously, how sometimes he just lets the ball go. And you can see when he turns round that obviously, the Southampton player's in, and you can see the regret in his face. But that's happened a couple of times. But in summary of the match, fantastic results. For me, the performance was a nice to have. For me, it was all about the result today. I just wanted to make sure that we got the 3 points on the board, and to make sure, that we get back into winning ways, because I think all it's going to do is just breed confidence again. Our next game is another home game, home to Fulham. And we can go in that now full of confidence, knowing, that we've scored 2 particularly very, very nice goals today, 2 nice team goals. And it's good, because even when we look at the summary that we've just done of the match, we're heaping praise on Murphy, Tonali, Isak, Gordon. There's multiple players that we're waxing lyrical over, and that's always good to see, because at times when you do these match reactions, you might mention one player and then say 2, 3, 4, 5 let us down kind of thing. But the fact that we're speaking so highly of a number of players, I think is a real positive. And I think at times the performance was really, really good today. There was still a few periods where I thought, come on, we can be better than that. But the most important thing was to get the 3 points, bounce back from the disappointing game against Bournemouth, where we didn't look ourselves, we didn't look at it. But it was a very professional performance today, and I think getting the 3 points is huge, particularly because of some of the results elsewhere in the league. So no, I was absolutely delighted, mate, and it was a fully deserved 3 points. And yeah, I just can't wait now until the Fulham game.
Absolutely. For me, I wanted to see a reaction. A reaction meant scoring goals, getting 3 points, and ensuring the win. We did all of those things. It wasn't seamless at times. That 5 or 10 minutes after the first 5, so from minute 5 to minute 15, it wasn't great. We allowed them far too much space, give them far too much confidence to think they could get back into the game. I expect a little bit more in those moments, but ultimately for me, in the moments that mattered, where we needed to step it into gear 2, into gear 3, into gear 3, into gear 4, we did it. And when we did, we looked formidable. I have to say, I tweeted out earlier, Chris, Alexander Isak, this guy is unbelievable for me. Like his movement today, I think this picture encapsulates everything about what Southampton felt regarding Alexander Isak. They're literally trying to hold on to his pants. Like they could not keep anything. And Harwood Bellis, he's a good centre back. Yeah, he's playing in a poor team, but he's a good centre back. Come from a good background, good sort of upbringing in terms of development. He's a good centre back. He'll go on to have a good career, but he got absolutely roasted by Alexander Isak. And I made the reference on socials earlier, is that his movement was almost like the parting of the Red Sea. Anyone that's religious will know exactly what I mean by that, or maybe not. Even if you're not religious, you probably know what I mean by that, is that the amount of space that his movement opened up for himself and for others was just absolutely brilliant. And his movement almost opened up the game for Newcastle United. As soon as Southampton scored, we went in and we went, right, we're going to impose ourselves on the game. Alexander Isak becomes more mobile. He makes runs into channels in different areas, and they can't keep hold of him. That opens up the first goal. I mean, Bruno can play through the eye of a needle. He didn't need to for that chance for the penalty, because Isak just makes movements for creating the space, and it just opens up wide, and it's just a nice simple ball in. And we did it time and time again. And there was times we did it and we didn't even capitalize on it, and we should have. And that just tells me that, we seem like we've got our mojo back. We seems like we've got our attacking mindset on, and we understood how to play the game. There were some players that I didn't think had the best of games. I thought Joe Linton wasn't great in the first half, personally. I thought Shaw wasn't great in the first half, personally. I thought they both did better in the second half. And it did impact the game slightly. There were elements of performances that could have been better, but look, we're trying to build again. We went on a nine game run. We had a real kind of thumping defeat to Bournemouth. We need to kind of build again. Confidence would have been hit. mindsets would have been hit. We need to build that back up again. So going to Southampton and winning was the key. But to win by 3-1 and create chances where we probably could have scored 6 or 7 fills me with confidence that we can go into that game next week and against Fulham and pick up the points. But let's have a look at the league table, mate. Let's have a look at the league table and see how it falls, because I know people have put questions into the chat. I want to make sure we come to those as well. But yeah, this is how the table looks right now. So Liverpool winning 4-1, I believe, against Ipswich, top of the pile. Newcastle were for a brief period in 4th on 41 points, but the result today in the late kickoff against Man City against Chelsea, Man City winning 3-1, I believe, has now put them on the same points as this, but they've got a 3-goal better goal difference, and they sit in 4th place. We're in 5th, which then puts Chelsea below us. So how do you see the league table at the moment? And I've not even mentioned it. The big result of the day, 5-0 Bournemouth at home to Nottingham Forest, puts them on 40 points. They're still a point behind us. They're on the same points as Chelsea, same goal difference as Chelsea. How do you see this league table right now?
I mean, mate, I'm just looking for Tottenham and Man U. Wondering where they are, Pete.
Just give me a second. I just need to scroll down.
No,
not there.
No.
Let me go down and get. Oh, okay. We got one there. We got one there. Let me keep going. Oh, no, there. Oh, there we are.
Mate,
full of bells. We can't even see ourselves in the picture now because we've gone that low.
Tottenham are 17, and Tottenham are 17 points behind us. And if you scroll down just a touch more, Pete, that just shows you what's going on, doesn't it? Hey.
Evertonians get excited. Whee!
Tottenham are a point ahead of Everton. How I'm just still in that job is beyond me. It's beyond me. That's terrible.
I bet Lisa's jumping around the house going,
mate, Callum and Lisa are absolutely made up, because if you scroll down to the very bottom, Pete, you will see Everton have now got a 7-point buffer from the bottom 3. So they've got to be pleased with that, because winning away at the Amex against Brighton, it's a really good result for Everton. I still don't think they're out of it, because 23 points is nowhere near enough, but they've given themselves an opportunity to create a bit of space. But anyway, Pete, get it back up there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this, right? So in summary, obviously Liverpool still continue to just steamroll. I mean, Arsenal were fortunate today, from what I heard. Obviously, I didn't watch the game because they were playing at 3:00 like us. But from what I heard, Wolves really threw away a fantastic opportunity. And one of the questions actually relates to an incident in the Wolves game. So I am going to bring that up a bit later on. But Arsenal, getting the 3 points against Wolves could have been a very different story. Forest, as you've already pointed out, Bournemouth continuing that immense run. But looking at the league table, mate, I think it's nice to see a bit of a gap now between ourselves and, say, 8th. Villa in 8th, Villa on 36 points. We're on 41, so there's a 5-point gap there. On the same. Villa have got to play tomorrow, haven't they? But I think soon, and I know I've been saying this for about 5 or 6 weeks. Sooner or later, a gap will be created. I firmly believe the gap will be from like 6th down. I think some clubs will fall away, but it's just great being in the mix, isn't it? If you'd have said, Pete, at the start of the season, after 23 games, you're going to be on the same points as Man City, and you're going to be 6 points away from Arsenal, thinking that Arsenal were going to be first or second, you'd take that, wouldn't you? You'd absolutely take that, because in a normal average season, Arsenal, the likes of Arsenal and City, would be probably 9, 10, 11, 12 points away. So the fact that we're so close to them, and that Arsenal aren't exactly in the best of form at the moment. I know they won today, as I said earlier, but it still feels like you can get at them, and it still feels like there's opportunities. There's opportunities realistically for, you would argue, the top 8, top 9. there's still opportunities there because there is only 10 points between 9th and 3rd. It's not a huge amount, but considering we've got like 15, 16 games left of the season. So plenty of opportunities, Pete. Great that we got that win today. I think it was really important to keep that momentum going. And do you know what, Pete? I am going to bring this up and I'm going to ask you this because this question actually relates to it. And it was Friday81, and he says, so the next round of fixtures, City are playing Arsenal, Forest are playing Brighton, Liverpool are playing Bournemouth, and then we have got Fulham at home. So it's a great opportunity for us next weekend. I mean, give us your summary on the league table, people. What are your thoughts on that one from Friday?
Friday, wow! I'm so glad you put that up. In terms of the league table, we're back in the mix, mate. We're back in the mix. We were in the mix even in last week, even the fact that we lost, we dropped down a couple of places. But what this shows is, and why I'm so happy with this result, I couldn't have cared less how we won the game, even if it was a 95th minute winner. I don't care as long as we get the points on the board. We're going to win matches in lots of different ways between now and the end of the season. As long as we get those 3 points on the board, I don't care how we get them. However, I love the way in which we did it. We were controlled. We were decisive. We could have scored more. And that fills me with confidence because we're creating chances again today. And we didn't last week. However, we're in the mix. You know, I'm looking at that league table now, Chris, and I'm looking at 12 wins. I'm looking at the fact that, and I'm looking ahead. I'm thinking, right, if we can get 8 more wins and we can hit that 20 mark, that puts us in 8 more wins, almost guarantees us sort of European football. But what it does, 8 wins, if we can get to 20 wins, that puts us in a Champions League, genuine Champions League conversation.
It does.
So I'm looking ahead, and I maybe shouldn't be, but I'm just kind of looking at that and looking where we need to get to. And that then kind of brings me on to next weekend, because Friday makes a great point. It's a massive weekend, and actually over the next 5 weeks or so, we have a lot of teams around us that play each other, including us. You know, can
we get the fixtures up, Pete? Does it show the mix of fixtures? I don't know. It will on the fantasy. But I'm just thinking it would be interesting because I know that we get our fixtures up, don't we? So we can see our fixtures. But I'm just thinking, I don't know whether if you go on the fantasy, it will show you, or whether you've got to sign in. I'm not sure.
I can. 1 second.
It'd just be interesting to see in comparison to our competitors.
Yeah, I'll get that up now. So I'll bring it up and I'll drop the league off for a second.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Go for a second, and I'll bring on the fixtures because I think this will give you a picture of what is to come moving forward.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll go through a few comments and things just in the background.
I've got it here.
You've done it? Have you done it?
Yeah, is it?
That was quick.
Always on it. So we got the Sunday fixtures. We know that's coming. Just a quick one on that one. The 2 fixtures that stand out for me are these 2 bad boys. Are we looking? Are we actually asking Lawless to help us out tomorrow?
I think so. Because we know, don't we? I think did we say there was a 7-point gap between ourselves and Villa, or was it 6 points? Might be 6. No, it might be 6 points. I think Villa were on 36.
Yeah, so I think it is
35.
No, I think it's 5 points actually, because they're on 36 points and we're on 41. So yeah, I think it's a 5-point gap between the 2 of us. So a Lawless help out. What we need you to do as a favour, fella. And do we need Man United to help us out? That's a big question.
That is a really good question, yeah, because you could argue that really we shouldn't really be looking at Man United. And it's funny, Pete, because looking at that fixture, you know, obviously in the normal time, if you were to ask me what do I see, I'd say an away win. But now I look at it and I think Man United are going to struggle at Craven Cottage because Fulham at home, decent team. Really decent team.
Sorry, go.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think. Those 2, the 2 bottom fixtures interest me most. And if we could get an away win at Villa Park and a home win at Craven Cottage, I think we'd be quite happy with that.
Absolutely, and with Fulham coming to us next, we need all the. We want them coming as lower confidence as possible.
Yeah,
to St James's Park.
Oh, sorry, I'm saying home win. No, we want 2 away wins, don't we? Apologies. Yeah, I'm thinking Fulham will win, but yeah, we'd like Man United to win.
But you're talking about what you think might happen.
Yeah.
You're thinking that Fulham might actually win, but what we actually do need, you're right, is a double away win. But let's see what happens to that. But going back to the fixtures that you mentioned, look at that.
Look at that early kickoff.
Ooh, massive.
Yeah.
Massive. And to be fair, Brighton losing to Everton today. We talked about it before. You know, are they going to hit? Are they dropping out of this race? Because I'm pretty sure we've stretched the gap quite significantly now.
It's a Brighton. Yeah, I think we have Brighton below Villa.
7 points now.
Jeez.
7 points the difference in that situation there. So you know it could well be well without their reach. We could be well without their reach going into the game on Saturday if they were to lose at Forest. But if they were to get Forest to drop points or even beat Forest, we have. I'll put it out there, Chris. Going back to the league table, I know you can't see it right now, but I'm just going to it on my screen. If Forest lose and we beat Fulham, we go ahead of Forest.
Wow.
So we're back to where we were last weekend when we were going into the Bournemouth game.
Yeah.
Where a win would have took us there.
Yeah.
And this is massive. So there's a little bit of pressure on Forest to hit back now after that huge defeat against Bournemouth. But if Brighton were to go there and win, it puts massive pressure on them, but it puts then the pressure on us to go and do the job. But like you said, Chris, Bournemouth, Liverpool, massive game. Two of the
Bournemouth
most
at home, mate. Bournemouth at home against anyone. Yeah. Yeah.
They're formidable. Big game, 3:00 kickoff, Fulham, St. James's Park. We beat them there last season. Lewis Smiley scored his first goal for the club. Bruno Guimaraes scored one of the goals as well. You got Villa against Wolves away from home.
That's a big game.
Yeah, well, it's a Midlands derby.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's not no ordinary game. Like it's a Midlands derby, and like if you speak to Dan, little Dan, and Billy or Rich, those clubs hate each other. Which can actually go into our favour because Wolves might raise their level slightly. To play against them. Arsenal, Man City, as you mentioned. Spurs. No, we don't need to talk about Spurs. And then we've got Chelsea, West Ham again. Another local derby where games can be risen off the back of that. Then you've got Liverpool with their game in hand on the following. That's a little bit afterwards. I think that's after the FA Cup game.
Who've Everton got earlier on in the week, Pete? Who've Everton got on the Saturday? Bloody hell. Everton have got potential there, haven't they? Everton, fantastic win at the Amex today. Can go, you would assume, have a really good opportunity to go and win at home to Leicester. And then they're going into the Merseyside derby off the back of 2 wins, potentially. Yeah. Do you know what it is? I keep convincing myself, Peter, I don't know if you're the same. I keep convincing myself that Liverpool, they've yet to have a struggle. And Liverpool, next 2 games, away to Bournemouth and away to Everton. Not going to be easy. And I'll tell you what, if they come through that and they win both, even I will hold my hands up and go, do you know what? They deserve it. If they can get 6 points from them 2 games, they deserve it.
And it pains me to say that, Chris, because I'm like Peter Mole. I'm like, I can't bring myself to cheer on Liverpool, but I almost find myself wanting them to win in certain games. Like I wanted them to win against Forest, they didn't. I want them to win in other games. Like I want them to beat Bournemouth, for example, in the game next weekend because I want them to stop our rivals from getting ahead of us. Because then I don't want Liverpool to win, but then I want them to win because I want us to be. I'm then thinking selfishly about our club. I want us to be going up there and creating a bit of a gap, because that's, for me, Chris, this is the key that I think that what we need to do now. And I'll come back to that in a second, but we've got the fixtures here. And then we've got Saturday, we've gone through those fixtures there. And then we come to sort of Friday night kickoff, another big game there, Brighton, Chelsea in the next round of fixtures. We're away at Man City, which is huge. Fulham against Forest. Wow.
Oh,
it's crazy. Ipswich Villa, that's probably a banker, as is Arsenal. But Fulham, Forest, Man City, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Southampton. It's a southern derby, but again, you'd expect them to win.
On the weekends.
Sunday,
Man U Spurs. Who's put that on at half on a Sunday? Who's done that?
They thought they'd be in the mix. That's why they put them on there. You wait till the next round of TV games. Those kind of fixtures ain't going to be on because they're going to be thinking they're not going to be playing the mid derby because that's what it is. It's the mid derby. It's the mid table derby.
Do you know what? Do you know what, Pete? And somebody said this on TalkSport yesterday on the radio when I was driving somewhere, and somebody said, I think it was Jeff Stelling, and he was talking about the games this weekend, and somebody mentioned, Man City, Chelsea, and he was like, whoa. He said the main game this weekend, or the game of interest this weekend, is Bournemouth for home to Nottingham Forest. And you know what? It was so refreshing to hear it, and it turns out it was 5-0. I mean, I can't wait to watch it back. Yeah. But it absolutely is, isn't it? They're the games at the moment that you want to watch, and even when we've just been talking there about who is it Forest have got, Pete? Is it in the next game week? If you scroll up a bit,
they're back. Forest have got Brighton.
Forest Brighton. Really good match that. And Forest and Bournemouth, let's be honest, they are the teams to watch at the moment because they play exciting football, and fair play to them, they're doing really, really well. So sooner or later, you're right, we won't be seeing stuff like Spurs and Man U on the main event on a Sunday afternoon. It's just not going to be. It's just Sky will probably be cringing looking at that now, because that talk about pointless game. That game just doesn't mean nothing, does it? At all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mid-off. It's a mid-off. Mid-table clubs having a mid-off. Nobody cares about that. And maybe I'm being shameless there, but
no. At the moment, Pete, I think you're right. Do you know what? Let's have a look at the rest of Feb, because I think we've only got 2 more weeks, haven't we? In 2 more game weeks in Feb. But is there any more tasty ones?
There is.
Everton, Man United.
Very much so. Very much so. Another mid-off.
Another mid-off?
Another mid-off. You got Arsenal against West Ham. West Ham have got some decent results over Arsenal in recent years.
They have.
Bournemouth, another expected win, probably.
Yeah, expect the win there, yeah.
Oh, look at this one.
Oh,
yeah, fighter. Villa, Chelsea, massive. But I'm not going to lie, an even bigger one on the Sunday. Look at that bad boy.
Oh,
look at that bad boy.
Goodness me. Followed by Man City, Liverpool. Although what's going to annoy you, Pete, is that they're just going to be talking about Man City, Liverpool all day on that Sunday. But we're just going to have to soak that up. It is what it is. But this is a prime example of what you were talking about before, Pete. I'm wanting, maybe it's because of where I'm from, I don't know, but I'm wanting Liverpool to have this, this fall off. But that game, I'm more than happy for Liverpool to win that game. Because it would be nice, wouldn't it, to keep City away from us. And if City were, best case scenario, if Liverpool were to win and we were to beat Forest, it'd be time to get excited. Then it would be time to get excited.
It's for the greater good.
It's greater good.
That's the key word now, for the greater good. It is for the alliance with us and Wolfie to try and out the traditional top six. But for us personally, as a club, it's for the greater good. We might not want them to win, but we need them to in order for us to stay as high up as that mix. What monster games. You know what? I'm just glad that we're at St. James's Park, because I just think, being at home, we need St. James's Park for the next 2 home games. Fulham at home next weekend.
Yeah.
Forest 2 weeks later. We need this place electric. We need St. James's Park electric.
Well, if the results go our way that you said before, Pete, if they go our way, and you said that did you say we go above Forest? You did, didn't you? And then it's this game week where you create your gap. That's where you create your gap.
Let me just run it.
If it's Forest, it was Forest Brighton, was it? Yeah, Forest Brighton. So if we're hoping that Brighton can get something and we beat Fulham, we then go above. We then go above Forest if Brighton were to win. And then we beat Forest. We're then 3 points clear of Forest.
Yeah. And this is it. I said it to the Mags, the Midland Mags guys in the chat earlier on today, and I was like, I just said, all I want is going into this game with Forest, right? I just want us to be in a position where we're in touching distance.
Yeah.
So I want us to be in a position where if we win against Forest, that it puts us above them. If we're not already, hopefully we are. But if we're not, I just want us to be in touching distance by the time we play them. I don't want them to get too ahead where a win against them won't make a significant difference. I need that. That's just my personal opinion on that. But finishing off Feb, there's some Tuesday games here running in. Villa Palace, that won't be an easy game. Palace are in and out of form. You'd expect to win there from Chelsea. Fulham, maybe, depending on that. That'll be a big game. Brighton.
That'll be a big game. Yeah.
Brighton away Brighton at home to Bournemouth, should I say. And then the Wednesday game.
The boys were trying to get me out for that. Because they love going to watch the game with me, particularly me Liverpool mates, because they thrive off it. Everton mates not so much. Liverpool mates love it. But unfortunately, 100%. That's why. Yeah, they love seeing my tears. But
mate,
I have a get out. Oh my God!
Look at that, bad boy.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, and that.
Yeah, I have a get out for this game. Well, I say a get out. I always like to show a bit of chest. But the 26th of February is the wife's birthday. So I said to the boys, I do apologise. And then do you know what she said to me when I told her? And I said, cancelled the lads and all that. And she was like, oh, no, well, we can do something in the day. You can go out in the night if you want. I was like, no. I said, it's your birthday. I'm not going anywhere. Not fucking leaving.
No. It's your day.
It's your day, not my day. Your day. Yeah.
It's your day, Lisa. Remember this. It's your day.
Yes.
I love it.
So yeah, I won't be out with the lads that evening, unfortunately. But yeah, wouldn't it be great though going to Anfield? Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm
putting the brakes on that title one.
I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna. We'll end it here. Like we're going into March here. We've got a little bit of a break. I think. Yeah,
it's an international week then, isn't it?
But look at that.
Oh. Hopefully, City showing a little bit of form there, Pete.
Yeah.
And then, so who's our one there? Oh,
we're away at West Ham. Game. Depending on how West Ham are playing, they'll have players back. That'll be a tough one. So lots to consider there. Arsenal, Man United, Spurs, Bournemouth.
Do you know what, Pete? I might go out for that game. I might go out for that West Ham Newcastle game because that is a key day, the 10th of March. That is Cheltenham Eve, Pete.
Oh.
Cheltenham kicks off on Tuesday the 11th, and I'm off all that week. So I will probably be out having a few Guinness watching that game.
Definitely. Love it, mate. Absolutely love it. We talked about the fixtures to come with all of the teams. Looked at the league table. We want to talk about some talking points with regards to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people would have seen the videos, Jordan Cronin, Dom Sker, lots of others in the away end, which I thought was amazing. By the way, I thought the away end was absolutely sensational,
Pete,
and sensational for this reason, mate. Go on.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you. I've only just noticed we've had a super chat, and you know that we always put the super chats first. So we have to give a shout out here. So this is Rich Joplin. Rich, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. Fully appreciated. Rich says, great result, lads. Nice to watch live for once. Not his biggest fan, but enjoyed Luke Edwards calling out the Sky Sports presenter, Ari Isak. Did you lads see that? Now, Pete, I know you half alluded to that then. So I don't know. Do you want to nip into that now while Rich has mentioned it?
Let's come into it because I tweeted out myself my own opinions on this situation. Not happy about it. I actually listened to it live as it came out because I had the game on one screen and I had Sky Sports News on the other, and I listened to his report. And normally he's pretty good on Sky Sports, but disappointed to hear that Mark McAdam it basically before I'll take that off. So I'll give you a bit of a context to it. So basically, when Isak scores the second goal, it cuts to him because then obviously there's no one in the studio reporting on the game. Mike McAdam, is it Mike McAdam? Mark McAdam.
Mark McAdam, yeah.
Mark McAdam is reporting on the game at St. Mary's, and he talked about the goal. And instantly, rather than talk about Newcastle scoring and Isak scoring a great goal in it, be Newcastle taking the lead, he starts talking about Arsenal. He starts talking about the fact that Arsenal would be happy with hearing about the fact that he scored the goal and making it an Arsenal conversation rather than talking about how the fact that Newcastle United had scored. That annoyed me. That annoyed me a lot. And I think it annoyed every other fan that talked about it from a Newcastle United perspective. And so I tweeted about it. Luke Edwards asked him the question about it, which Mark McAdam, sorry, keep referring to his name wrong, took issue with. So Mark McAdam responded to Luke Edwards saying, "Not fancy talking to my face, Luke. I was at the game, was happy to chat, especially after some of the recent questions in the press conferences I've seen from you, throwing bombs there towards Luke Edwards. Imagine if I went straight to Twitter to have a pop. Live TV is live TV." Now, Luke Edwards wasn't at the game, and he made reference to that in his response. He wasn't at the game, and he said if he was at the game, he would have spoke to him personally about it. For me, the fact that was a very sharp response to Luke Edwards, someone that I imagine that they talk regularly, says to me that he was irked by the fact that Luke Edwards had said that, which tells me that it was a producer thing. In my opinion, I think the producers have told him to make reference of the Arsenal link, continue to build that in terms of the conversation. These things happen. Let's not get it twisted. These things happen. Producers tell the people, the presenters, what to say. So I don't necessarily hold this all at Mark McAdam's doorstep in terms of what this situation was, but they're forced to say certain things and create certain narratives. And I felt this was another situation, and it really annoyed me. Because when you're in a situation where your main man, your goal scorer, has just scored a brace and you're 2-1 up and you're hearing on Sky Sports that you've scored, the one thing you should hear is them talking about Newcastle United, not Arsenal Football Club. And that's what annoyed me about it. But, mate, what's your opinions on it based on what people have been saying on the chat?
Mate, I'll be honest, and I'm looking in the chat because I think a few other people mentioned it as well. So I want to just bring that up to give the opportunity for them, to mention this. Alan Thompson says, "Pete, will you tell Dan Potts and every Arsenal fan, Paul Merson included, and the rest to piss off? Alexander Isak is not going anywhere. He's at the biggest club in England. Simples." That's Alan Thompson's view on it. And Ian CR65, he says the same, lads. What about Sky mentioned Arsenal when a Newcastle United player scored for Newcastle United? Do you know what, mate? I'll be honest. I'm getting bored of it. I'm getting really, really bored of it. And at first, it used to really annoy me and wind me up. And now I almost find it quite laughable because I look at it and I think Alexander Isak, no matter whatever way you look at it, Alexander Isak has priced himself out of a move to Arsenal or the majority of all other clubs around Europe. They can't afford them, and Newcastle will not sell them. We saw that, last summer when we scrambled to try and raise that money, to ensure that we met PSR. We got rid of the likes of Yankuba Minteh, Elliot Anderson, Anthony Gordon. We know was kind of bartered around, in terms of like trying to scramble the money together. But one thing that was consistent, and every single journalist said it, Alexander Isak is untouchable. Alexander Isak was never in that conversation. And the form that he's in now, Alexander Isak, he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. The only place I see Alexander Isak going if he was to leave Newcastle, personally, is either Man City, if Haaland goes, but not Haaland's just signed a 9.5-year deal, so I think we can scratch that. Real Madrid, but who have just bought Kylian Mbappe, and obviously they've got the likes of Hendrick, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo. I know they play on the wings, but they've got a lot of attacking options, is what I'm trying to say. Barcelona, who struggled to register players, let alone spend 150 million on a striker upwards. I just don't see any clubs being able to afford him. And he keeps constantly getting linked with Arsenal. Arsenal haven't got the money. Arsenal cannot afford to spend 150 million on Alexander Isak. And the fact that they keep pushing this narrative and they keep trying to link Alexander Isak to Arsenal, whether it's a very flimsy way, people describe and say that Alexander Isak has the look of Thierry Henry, they used to wear the same shirt number, and some of his, and I think he said in the past, hasn't he, Pete, that he models his game on Thierry Henry. So people now just use that lazy link of saying, oh, he's destined to go to Arsenal. Gone are the days when Newcastle are a selling club and they can't keep hold of players. That, unfortunately, that period's gone. Yes, we do need to trade, and we do need to have outgoings in order to get incomings, and that's perfectly fine. But Alexander Isak's not any old player. He's not any normal player. He's one of, if not the best striker in Europe. And if you want the best striker in Europe, you're going to have to pay huge sums to get him. And any club that wants to, you've also got to think from the players' side. Let's be honest, is Alexander Isak going to be pining to go to Arsenal at the moment? I don't think he is. I really don't. I don't see Arsenal being up here and us being there. I just don't see it. Arsenal, have historically have been a better club than Newcastle in the past 20, 30, 40 years. But if you look at the trajectory of both clubs, I think Newcastle are on a stronger trajectory. And we've seen how the meltdown from Arsenal fans recently, criticising the club, criticising the decisions, criticising the players. Let's say for argument's sake, Pete, Arsenal were to come in with 120, 130 million pound bids. Is Alexander Isak going to be banging on the door of the Newcastle owners and Eddie Howe saying, I want to leave, I want to go to Arsenal? I'm not sure he is. I'm really not.
And that's what this is the key, mate. Is that's what Arsenal want. This is why and other media outlets are banging the drum for Alexander Isak and Arsenal, because they want him to turn around to Newcastle and say, I want to leave. This is what they're trying to build for. And none of our top players have ever said that. They're all really happy. Someone just put in the chat, and I starred it. Davey put it, I think, in fact. Tonali in his interview, and he did say this, said, all Newcastle players love playing for the Toon. And this is what, that there is exactly what the media and opposition fans and opposition clubs hate about the fact of Newcastle United. We might not be fighting for the title, and we might not be this prestigious club that are winning trophies year in, year out, but players genuinely love playing for the club. They love living in the city. They have this narrative and they had Troy Deeney, which makes me laugh, by the way. And this is I'm going off tangent slightly. Troy Deeney for the last few weeks has been literally dogging on Newcastle United and saying about Newcastle, the city, not a place to live. People prefer London. There's this old rhetoric of mindset about living in Newcastle, right? Whereas actually the reality has been is that every Newcastle player that's lived in Newcastle loves living in the city. And it's just been compelled about the fact that John Joe Shelby's just moved to Burnley. John Joe Shelby's been playing in Turkey for the last few years. And actually his family has still lived in Newcastle the whole time because they love living in the city. It's an old negative mentality that they're trying to drum up to unsettle people, to make them feel like they need to leave. And the reality is that the players don't need to. They're happy. They're enjoying playing for the club, and they hate the fact that that's the case. This is the problem. I'm coming to that.
Oh, you're going there. You're going there. You're going there.
I was building to build.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. And that was part of the reason why I kind of held off the super chat. So apologies, Rich, we didn't put it on sooner because I wanted to kind of build this into a conversation. But the reality is, it's a joke. It's a joke that they keep pushing this narrative of Isak to Arsenal. There has not been one bid. There has been this fake interest. There is not one time that Isak said he's unhappy at Newcastle United. He clearly is, right? We are fighting and only 3 or 4 points off Arsenal currently in the league table. This gives me no question marks about the fact that Alexander Isak wants to leave the club. And I love the fact And people might not like Luke Edwards, but I love the fact that he's bullish in his argument. And he says, and he'll argue against people that argue for other clubs instead of Newcastle United. He's a Leyton Orient fan. He's reported on Newcastle United for years, but he's a Leyton Orient fan. But he's the one that fights Newcastle United's corners. And regardless of what we think about him, regardless of what happened with the takeover, you got to respect the fact that he fights for Newcastle United, because that's what we want as fans. We want journalists and people to fight for Newcastle United. And I love the fact that he did that. And he fought even more so by bringing up this point, because he put out not long ago, literally minutes before we went live, he put out this exclusive that Newcastle will offer Alexander Isak a new contract at the end of the season to continue to insist that he's not for sale at any price. And this is what we've talked about, Chris. Me, you, and Daz have talked about it on this channel relentlessly about the fact that if we get European football in any way, shape, or form, including and especially Champions League football, that this man will be offered a contract that will blitz anything that's ever been offered at Newcastle United to ensure that this man stays. Because for me, he is, and I know you agree, and I know Daz agrees, that he is the best striker in this Premier League right now. And arguably the best in the world right now. And he's proven it again. And I just, you know what? If I'm Newcastle United, mate, and I want to get your thoughts on this, and people in the chat, put your opinions on this. If I'm Newcastle United right now, and I'm one of the board owners, if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm, Darren Eales, or I'm, Peter Silverstone, and I'm hearing this rhetoric of Arsenal and Isak are going to be happening in the summer, I would be adamant to say, you know what? Middle finger up to you. Even if he leaves, I'm not selling him to you. Just for the fact that you've created this narrative for the last year, right? When it hasn't been there, and you've had all the media jump on the end of it. If we're going to sell him, not to you, anyone else but you. That would be my mentality. And I don't know whether I'm wrong in that mentality, but that's the way that they've created this. For me, I'm just thinking, you know what? Forget it. Even if he leaves at some point, he ain't going to you. I'd rather sell him to anyone else, even if it's cheaper, just to stop him going to you. What do you think about that, mate?
Nah, do you know what? I like that, Pete. I like that attitude. And I think Alexander Isak hasn't come out or hasn't given the body language or suggested that he's not happy at the club, and he certainly hasn't suggested that he's shaking his bum for Arsenal, because he's certainly not, is he? He's certainly not. And no, I like that. Even if Arsenal were to come up with the goods, if they were to sell a few players and come in with a big bid, I would hope that Newcastle just kind of go no. I mean, let's be honest. In order for Newcastle to listen to any kind of bid, it would have to be an astronomical one. And I actually think with Alexander Isak, if he continues the way he is at the moment, I think the power of him leaving will be given to Alexander Isak. I think Newcastle will say, listen, this is the price. If someone meets the price, it's entirely up to you. And I think he'll be given that respect and he'll be allowed that decision. And I truly believe Alexander Isak would not want to leave Newcastle United unless one of the big European giants come in, like I mentioned before, like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. And even then, realistically, how likely is that? I truly believe Alexander Isak will only leave Newcastle United for a Real Madrid or a Barca, and only for the fact that I can't see him going to Man City because of Haaland's new deal. If Haaland was to leave tomorrow, I would be a little bit nervous, because if I was Pep Guardiola, he's exactly who I would go for. We said this months back, didn't we, Pete? When Haaland was banging the goals in, and we were saying that we wouldn't swap. I think it was when we had LB on. We were saying we wouldn't swap Alexander Isak for anyone. And he was like, "What about Haaland?" And it was like, Haaland in front of goal is deadly. He's a goal scorer. He's absolutely deadly. But that was it, Pete. Yeah, because we were saying. I think I made the comment and said Pep Guardiola would swap Isak for Haaland because Isak's got more to his game. He's just got more to his game. Haaland's lethal in front of goal, but Alexander Isak gives you so much more off the ball. It's unreal. So yeah, to answer your question, mate, I don't think he's going anywhere. And I would love Arsenal to come in with like 120, 130 million, and Newcastle just be like, no. But let's be honest, Pete, they're not going to. They're not going to because they can't afford it.
No, you're absolutely right. They cannot afford it, and any other club can't afford it. Look, with Man City going and getting Mamouche, that rules out. I think a Haaland, Haaland not going anywhere, so that rules out a Man City sale. Liverpool can't afford it. I don't think Arsenal can afford it. I think Chelsea might have the money, but Chelsea are no better off than we are right now in terms of league position. So why would we want to sell to one and strengthen one of our rivals? So
I think you want to go to Chelsea. I don't think you want to go to Chelsea.
I think you're absolutely right. I think maybe a PSG down the line that probably got the money to put it in there. But would you want to go to play in France when you play in the Premier League? And then you've got La Liga and you've got Real Madrid and Barcelona, and that's it. That is it in terms of who you would want to go to. For me, I wouldn't be wanting to go to Arsenal because Arsenal haven't proven that they're able to win anything. And I've said that numerous times before. A couple of things that I wanted to bring to you as well, moving on from Alexander Isak before we come to questions. Miguel Almirón. I thought it was a really, really nice touch. There's videos going around. This is what I was going to mention before we come to Isak. There's videos going around from Jordan Cronin and Dom Skur with regards to the video after the game. So the players going to thank the fans for their travel and their support during the game. And Eddie Howe makes a point of saying and calling over Miguel Almirón and kind of pushing him towards the front to be able to be serenaded by the fans who were singing his name at the end. And it kind of felt like a moment, mate. I don't know if you've seen the videos. It kind of felt like a moment to say, his goodbyes. Whether he says goodbye between now and Fulham, I don't know. But we know that there's a fee agreed with Atlanta United for Miguel Almirón. It was reported last night by Luke Edwards himself. And so I thought it was a really, really nice touch by the away end, which I expected. We've been in the away ends many a times, Chris, over the years. We know our away fans are the best in the land in terms of appreciating their players, support of the players, supporting match days. And I thought it was a really, really nice touch with that. But what did you make of the Miguel Almirón sort of appreciation at the end, which he kind of signaled? You can see him there touching the badge and waving to the fans as he clapped them off. Was that significant to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it will be another Martin Dubravka where he says bye and then ends up staying. So no, I don't see that being the case. I do think that will be the last time we see Miggy in a Newcastle shirt. It wouldn't even surprise me if he was gone before the Fulham game. I think it makes sense to release him towards the end of the window, given that the MLS season doesn't start, I don't believe, until April. So it would not make sense to have released Miguel Almirón, say, last week, particularly, and I know we'll probably get to this a bit later on, particularly if it looks like we're not going to replace him. So it would make sense to just have, that squad depth, but it very much looked like a goodbye, didn't it? So I think Kev T's hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, it looked like a goodbye. It looked like a thank you, but yeah, in terms of the fans, mate, no surprise at all. The away fans, we as you rightly say, we've been there ourselves many a time. Through thick and thin, we support the players while they wear a black and white shirt. We support them, and Miguel Almirón has been a really, really good servant to the club. And I think he deserves to be celebrated. And I think that, we thank him for his time and for what he did. And he played for us in some pretty dark days. I think it was Rafa who signed him, wasn't it? But unfortunately, he ended up playing under Steve Bruce. And there were some difficult times. And I'm glad in many ways that he, as much as we should have cashed out on Miggy, in my opinion, to get the maximum value, I am glad as well that he got to saw, a good chunk of this new revolution under the new owners and Eddie Howe. And he played his part in the Champions League qualification, and we're never going to forget that PSG game. Never going to forget that game. Some people arguing that it's the greatest night in Newcastle history. They put it up there with the Barcelona match where we won 3-2. And rightly so, because it was a fantastic game. I know you were there, Pete. And made up for Miguel Almirón. Absolutely made up for him. And I think it's nice in many ways taking out the finance and the football side of it, in many ways, I'm pleased that he's going back to the MLS and he's going back to somewhere where he's absolutely adored, where he's going to be comfortable. You know, he's going to be happy there. I know a few fans were disappointed that he never took the move to Saudi, but I think, you know, when you take the football and finance out of it, you've got to understand that, you know, these players are humans and they, you know, he shouldn't be forced to go somewhere he doesn't want to go. So the fact that he's getting his move back to the MLS where we bought him from, back to a club that absolutely adore him, I think it's great for him. It's a great move. And yeah, albeit I think it's 6 to 12 months too late in terms of, you know, I think he should have gone a bit earlier. I think to get 11 million for Miguel Almirón right now is pretty good business. What happens with his replacement, who knows? As I say, we might touch on that in a bit. But now, pleased for him. And yeah, I do think that's the last time we'll see him in the Newcastle shirt.
Yeah. Look, I don't like the rhetoric that's been mentioned on social media in the last 24 hours. So like when Luke Edwards' piece came out, there was a number of videos of saying, you know, thanks Miggy, and they were showing the goals from the Champions League against PSG and various other things. And some people were kind of arguing against it, saying, you know, why are we showing these videos for? It's been shocking for the club in the last year, or this, that, and the other. And look, there's been we know that Miguel Almirón probably needs to move on right now, that his time is done at Newcastle. Yeah. I think we're all honest in seeing that. I think Eddie Howe probably knows it. I think Miguel Almirón probably knows it himself, is that the time is done at this club and we need to move on, because the club is moving in a different direction. We're moving to establish better quality players, with all due respect to him. And I think there's an understanding of that, but we can still appreciate what he's done for the club whilst he's here. And we're not talking about goals and assists as such, but the fact that, like you said, like he's grafted for the club, he signed for the club in a really poor moment where we weren't good at this moment in time. He signed because he was going to be signing to be managed by Rafa Benitez. He left in the summer. We then had Steve Bruce for a period of time, and he continued to play through that period where, let's be honest, through those years under Steve Bruce, he wasn't even being coached. So he wasn't even being improved. And Eddie Howe's come in and improved him. We got the purple patch in the season. We finished in the Champions League, all that sort of stuff. So we need to appreciate that. And you know what? He's put years into this club. He loves the city. He loves the club. And look, when there's many clubs out there in world football where there's players that don't love the club, don't appreciate where they live, don't appreciate what they're doing, and literally take the mick out of the club, he's not one of them. He loved what he did at Newcastle United. He loves what he does. And he's, to be fair, much to our annoyance as individuals, being you, Chris, Daz as well, he's probably stayed longer than we probably wanted him to. He moved on and made some significant money. But the fact that he might well be going now, and this seems to be his last game, says, you know what, fair enough. My only issue with this is that I still think we need to sign. I'm still not comfortable with the fact that he goes and we have literally one right winger to see us through for the rest of the season. I'm not quite comfortable with that. And I'm still holding, even though I admit defeat to a point that I don't think we're going to sign. I'm like you. Yeah. A little tiny smidgen of hope that when that is confirmed, hopefully sooner rather than later, that we go into this last week in the window and we go and we sign somebody that's going to come in and be the Miggy replacement that's an upgrade on what we've got. I'm holding that whole smidgen of hope. I have to say, in the last couple of days, particularly after Eddie's press conference, and people would have seen me being quite optimistic about transfers, my optimism dropped massively. And I said it to you boys privately. I'm still holding on to that hope that we do sign somebody, although it doesn't look likely at this point in time. I am holding on to that because I do think we need it more so than any other. We need that right winger to come in, but let's wait and see. But the Miggy appreciation was absolutely spot on. One thing that did worry me, and I tweeted out, and I was like, "Whoa, what is going on here?" Bruno Guimaraes tweets out after the game, "I don't know what the future holds." But this team will always fight for the best of our club. 3 points and see you next week. And now there was panic stations.
Wow.
Panic stations, people. He did clarify it, so don't worry. He put, "Don't worry, guys. I'm talking about what happened with the pitch." Thank you again for your support today. See you at St. James.
Bruno.
And
Fucking hell.
exactly that fella. And everyone's like, what is going on right now? And then he clarifies it with that tweet, and everyone's like,
That's where the language barrier comes in a little bit, isn't it? Because he's trying to be like, philosophical and like, I don't know what the next 15 games, what the future holds in the next 15 games or whatever. And like everyone's like, oh my God, Bruno's going. But no, I'm glad. Obviously, someone maybe in his family or his media team have gone, yeah, do you know what? You've caused a bit of hysteria. You might need to clarify what you mean. But no, it's great that he's come out and done that anyway. That's really good.
absolutely, mate. And so that
Jesus,
kind of,
good job I never saw that.
yeah, I know, mate. It brought panic stations to everyone on socials, and very quickly clarified it. And we're all good. We're all good. We're nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. They were kind of really the talking points I wanted to mention. But so, what have we got in the chat, mate? What have we got? What comments that people are saying?
Yeah, we've got loads of stuff actually. I mean, I need to give shout outs to our new members. Benicia Bounds, you do well because you you get a shout out every show. But thank you for becoming a member. You are on the list, so we've got to mention you. But thank you very much, fully appreciated. And Foxy, of course,
yes,
the man. Foxy, our resident scout. So Foxy, nice to see that you've signed up as a member again, mate. Much appreciated. And we also have the Clon lad, who's been a member for 15 months. And he kind of just he touches on what you've just said, Pete. Are you worried if we don't sign a Miggy replacement? I mean, from what you've just said, it was interesting listening to you actually, Pete, because that is exactly how I feel. I am. Expectations have been lowered, let's say, but I also still believe there's hope. I still believe there's hope, and maybe that's just because I'm kind of a glass half full kind of guy. I don't like to kind of I don't like to consider something done. Now I know the way Eddie spoke in the press conference. I did watch it. He was quite adamant, but what I must say is, and it was something somebody put in the chat actually, and I did star it because I thought it was a really good point. Don't say I've got rid of it. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Claire G. Claire G says, Mitchell trying to get Kusanov rather than a right wing tells you that centre-back is still priority. So I'm going to ask you about that in a second, Pete. But for me, I still believe, Pete, a bit like the Gordon deal, in that if the right player becomes available between now and the 3rd of February, I still believe that we will try. Because as things stand right now, we're not going to bring a player in because there's not the swing room in order to do that. And we're basically going to be forcing ourselves come the end of June to do something, as in we've got to sell players, we've got to get them out the door. But what Eddie Howe did say in the press conference, and tell me if this is wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did, he basically referred to as things stand. So as we sit here now talking, we're not going to bring anyone in. If a player becomes available, if a bid comes in for one of our players, is there then scope for us to kind of do something? Like, let's be honest. If someone was to come in with a 30 million bid for Harvey Barnes, unlikely because he's injured, but I'm just using it as a, hypothetical thing. If someone was to come in, whether Harvey Barnes or anyone, 30 million, and then they quickly go out the door, that then opens up the options, doesn't it? So I think he said that at the very end as well when he was asked the question. He's not saying no, as in it's not going to happen. He said it's unlikely, but we know things change very quickly in football, don't we, Pete? And we know, and Eddie's been very open about these transfers. Normally he's very closed book, isn't he? But when he was asked about Kusanov, he didn't rule it out and say no, or I don't want to talk about it. He did allude to the fact that Newcastle were interested in the deal, and maybe we were trying to get it, on a cheaper deal. Maybe we were trying to, pay in installments, and then City came in and just went, "Oh, we'll give you the full whack, and we'll do this and do that." And that's obviously blown us out the water. But it shows, does it not? I'm kind of not disagreeing with Claire here, but I'm kind of trying to show the options. Claire says, him going for Kusanov tells you that centre back's a priority. To me, Claire, it says that if the right player becomes available, we will try and do the deal. So we all know, and I think Eddie Howe will admit this as well, as soon as Miguel Almirón steps foot out the door, right wing's a priority now, but as soon as he steps out the door, right wing is, like by far and away the priority. But to me, all it shows is that the club, keeping all options open. And if the right player becomes available, we'll try and get the deal done. Yes, we want the right wing, right player. But if any player becomes available in a position that we're interested in, we know that they'll kick us on and we think it's a good deal or it's good value for money, I think we try and do it. But, what are your thoughts in general on that, Pete?
Yeah, I think it's a great point from Claire G, and I think you've made some great points yourself, Chris. Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, I think seeing out this transfer window in the way it is, and I'm probably giving away too much here, just in terms of my thoughts. I think that centre back was a priority position for Newcastle United going into this window. I don't think they felt that Sven Botman would come back as strongly as he did in this window at the beginning of January. So Tottenham away, Arsenal away. I don't think they felt he would be as strong as he was. And so I think they felt they needed to go and get that right centre back that would be that guy. And the links there with Kusanov, I think were genuine. And I think you made the point. Newcastle United will sign a player, not necessarily because of the priority, but because of the player that they want in their list of players that they're looking at. If he's available at that time, whether it's a necessity or not, they will get him because that's the player that they think they need for that position long term. And that's the key. And look, my opinion on Kusanov is that, and it's been said by the agent, is that Newcastle United were heavily interested and were very close to getting him. The way it looked and the way it was reported, particularly by Mark Douglas, who was on the button with regards to this particular deal, is that Newcastle United were at the table for Kusanov. Lons needed to move him on, and a deal between 20 and 25 million was there to be done, and they would have accepted. Everything changed when Man City came to the table. And what happened after that meant that Newcastle United could not compete. And to be honest, I kind of agree with it. Is because at 25 million, that's a deal that I think Newcastle United probably would have done this month had Man City not come to the table. But the problem is that Man City came to the table. And so what happened is that when Man City showed their interest and said, we want the player, Lons have gone, Man City, desperate for a player, desperate to rebuild their squad. Let's double it. Let's ask for 50 million. And Man City go, we're desperate for the player. Let's go and get him. And that's what's happened. That's the situation. And Newcastle United cannot compete with that right now. Thinking of PSR, we cannot compete with that situation. Did we want the player? Yes. Did the player want to come to Newcastle? The agent's already said, yes, he did. But we cannot compete with that type of fee. So therefore, the situation is that Man City came to the table, and when Man City come to the table, they're going to offer double. They're going to want double the initial amount. And that's what screwed us over in that situation. We're in a situation now where we're sitting back and we're evaluating the situation of other players and positions. Do I think we're looking at right wingers right now in this window? Absolutely. Absolutely. We are looking at players. Eddie Howe's already touched on it. They've done their due diligence on who they want in this window, 110%. But what they're doing right now is trying not to make the same mistake as what they made with Kusanov, is to put their outpouring of interest into a player, then another club come in, we've got more money and go, yeah, we'll take him. And then just take the player. I think whether we get a player or not, I think Newcastle looking at players and we'll wait until deep into the window to see if their deal can be done. And if it can be done, they'll go and get the player. If they won't, they'll wait. And then I know what, in my opinion, in my head, I know why I think Newcastle United are doing this. Newcastle United will look to strengthen this month. But if they can't, what they are going to do is look for the PSR window between end of May and the end of June. Because there are teams right now, and it was reported the other night about Man United struggling with PSR. There'll be other teams that will be close to the wind. We're not at this moment in time one of those teams, but there'll be others. And I think Newcastle United are going, right, if we can't sign the player we want right now, we'll wait for the PSR window and we will do to teams what they did to us last June. And they will go, right, you need a player off the books, you need a player to move to sort out your PSR. We're here. We're here to do you a job. We'll sign your player and we'll do a job for you. And I think what Newcastle United will do, potentially, if we don't sign this month, is they'll go and target certain players in that PSR window to improve our squad early doors to ensure that we get the best deal possible. And I think that's what will potentially happen if we don't go in January. So I kind of, in my mind, I kind of feel like I know what we're going to do. But for me, I think it's a massive, massive risk. And the reason being is that for the points that we've just talked about, we've just looked at the table. We've looked at the fixtures, Chris. We've looked at it up until March. We know what it is that it takes to get Champions League football, Europa League football, Europa Conference League football. We've got a huge opportunity and we're right in the mix, mate. We're there. We're there right now. Why? Like, my question would be, is that why would you jeopardize that position when you know it means so much to the future and the potential of our club to get European football? Would you not throw it at that situation right now and get the player in right now to ensure that we get European football? That's what maybe I would do, but that's my opinion.
Do you know what, Pete? It's a really good point. It's a really, really good point. And I suppose the way I'd look at it is, I think if the right player was available at a reasonable price, I think they would do it. But I'm just wondering whether, and this is obviously I don't know, and none of us know, but I just wonder whether there's 3 or 4 players on the list, and those 3 or 4 players who are the options for right wing, because I don't think there's 20, 30, 40. I just don't think it'll be that big a number. I just think that the club have decided that of those 3 or 4 players, who could even be less than that, that player is not gettable at this point, or his club have said no, not this window. Maybe come back in the summer. Maybe come back before June. That is how I feel about it, because I do think when there was an article, Pete, I think you brought it to our attention, and a financial expert, I forget who it was, said that Newcastle could probably spend between 30 and 40 million and still be compliant with the rules. Yeah. And I believe that's before anybody walks out the door. So obviously when Miggy Almirón walks out the door, that figure, you could argue, could increase a little bit, because that was at that moment in time. That was before we potentially get 11 million in for Miggy Almirón, or 9.5 million, whatever it is, rising. So yeah, I do think there is a little pot of money there. And, I do think that Newcastle would definitely do the deal. If someone comes over to us 2 or 3 days before the window shuts and goes, "Oh, by the way, that player you're inquiring about, we'd let him go now," I think they'd go and do it. I do. I think they'd go and do it. It wouldn't even surprise me if bids were on the table and Newcastle have gone, "There you go, there's the bid. Come back to us if you're interested." And maybe the club have gone, no, we're not interested. But if they ring up 24, 48, 72 hours before and say that they're willing to talk, I think things change.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not forget Elanga. That Elanga deal wasn't talked about all summer until the last day of the window, and then all of a sudden there was like a 50 million bid on the table. Like, and some people said, "Oh, there wasn't a bid." There was a bid, 50 million that Newcastle put on the table for Anthony Elanga. So who's to say that that's not going to be the case this window? It could well be. So I hold a little bit of hope that there could be a small chance that we could get a signing in. But obviously, there has to be a confirmation of Miggy going for his medical, signing, and doing all that good stuff before we even get to maybe thinking, could there be a chance that could actually happen? It may well not. But I think it's an interesting conversation to be had, and lots of people have got points on that. I think Claire's come back to you with regards to Dubravka. She said, "I thought it was them that wanted Dubs." I think she's referring to Al Shabab. Al Shabab did want Martin Dubravka. They offered good money, or apparently good money, if not wages, if not transfer fee for him. But we have the final say. And I think Eddie Howe reluctantly was allowing him to leave. And then with his form and with the question marks around the goalkeeping situation, I think they've, as a club, decided that it's the best for him to stay. And I think he's going to stay now until the summer. With the goalkeeper that they've signed, which is not a high-profile goalkeeper, by the way, I think it's probably a goalkeeper just to tie them over. It wouldn't be surprised if Martin Dubravka goes back in. They go back in for Martin Dubravka, who's an established Premier League goalkeeper, higher profile than the one that they're about to sign. They go in and he still gets his deal in the summer, which is fine. The problem we've got, though, and this is the point I made in the Midlands Mag chat earlier on today, is that we've got 5 goalkeepers and potentially 4 of them could all leave this summer.
Yeah.
So we've got Ruddy, we've got Gillespie, we've got Vlachodimos, whose contract is, I think, probably long-term, but could well leave because he's been offered the chance to leave. And then you've got Dubravka that could all leave in the summer. And then
could go.
Well, interestingly, and this is the point that I wanted to make, and the 200 plus that are watching right now maybe didn't know this, but Nick Pope's only got 1 year left on his contract in June.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
only 1 year.
1 year left on his contract. So there's a genuine argument that all 5 goalkeepers could potentially move on in the summer. So there could well be that we're sitting in August 2025 with a complete set of new goalkeepers. I don't think that will be the case, but I think there's an argument that a whole set of new goalkeepers could be presented for next season.
I'm gonna ask you a question now, Pete. And I've got my answer, and I'll tell you my answer after I answer this.
Go for
it. After you answer, should I say? Do you think there's an argument in saying that there's more chance, particularly after what you've just told me? Do you think there's an argument in saying that there's more likelihood that John Ruddy and Mark Gillespie will still be at Newcastle United next season rather than Nick Pope?
If you want me to be honest, I think Mark Gillespie is gone.
I think so.
How can you keep him at the club? He ain't playing any football. I think if Eddie Howe was aware of the situation with Vlachodimos, I don't think Mark Gillespie would have got a new contract. I think he'd have been gone already. I think it seems to me the plan was Mark Gillespie, John Ruddy, Nick Pope, and James Trafford. Sorry, Mark Trafford. James Trafford. For me, that was the goalkeeping unit that I think was meant to be the case this season. Didn't work out that way. More goalkeepers than we needed. I don't think it'd be enough. No, I'm done. I'm done with goalkeeping. Never again. I'm trying to make myself ready for the charity match that we got. It would have been April, let alone being in goal. Forget that. But yeah, for me, that's what I thought. I will say though, there is an argument that John Ruddy is likely to be here more than Nick Pope. That's my argument. Definitely. I think John Ruddy is likely to get a new contract for another year because he's a third choice goalkeeper. He's not going to be anything more than that. He's almost a goalkeeping coach anyway. There's a chance that he's probably going to get given an extra year as being that guy. That's just my opinion. The Nick Pope with a year left on his contract, with the potential of Burnley, for example, coming back up in the Premier League. If we take Trafford
Pope,
they take Pope. We get the younger goalkeeper with high potential and a higher ceiling over a longer period of time. They get Pope. He knows the club. He's experienced in the club. He goes back as an experienced head. It kind of makes sense that he's that guy that moves forward next.
It is.
I just
think what
makes sense.
Sophie B has been on fire tonight, and Sophie, I share this exact opinion, and I know I'm going to contradict. Well, not contradict, but I'm going to disagree with what Pete just said. because I agree with you. I've said this now for a number of years. I genuinely think Mark Gillespie is our not so pretty cheerleader. That's genuinely what I think he is. I think Mark Gillespie's probably on about $5,000 a week, and Mark Gillespie comes in every week knowing full well he's not going to play any football whatsoever, but he is there purely to look after probably the first, second, arguably third choice goalkeeper. He's a Jersey lad. And I just think, I mean, it is the best job in football, isn't it? It's the best job in football. He comes in and trains every day, gets to, spend time with all these fantastic players, gets paid an absolute shed load. And he's just living his best life. It wouldn't even surprise me if I don't even know how old Mark Gillespie is, but I think he's probably around mid-30s, maybe. It wouldn't surprise me if like in 5 years' time he was still here, because I just think that he probably, it wouldn't, like, he might even be. He could probably use him as a mannequin
32.
on the training pitch. 30, exactly, mate. 32 is no age for a goalie. It's no age for a goalie. He could use him as a mannequin. Just go, do us a favour, mate. Just stand there while we take free kicks, and he'd just have a big fucking grin on his face. Yeah, he'd just have a big grin on his face and just be like, "Yeah, I'll do it. It's no problem." Because the argument is you can't have 2, 3 first choice goalkeepers who should be playing first team football. You just can't. You can't have it because they'd all be unhappy. Mark Gillespie knows exactly where his place is. He knows exactly what his role is in that squad. He knows exactly. He's just there for the ride. It really, if me or you were better at goalkeeping, Pete, in terms of Premier League, not even Premier League standard, probably like League Two, National League standards. And he said, "Oh, do you want to do it for like 500 quid a week?" He'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead, I'll do that," because he must just be living his best life. He must absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And I just think, and particularly as what you've just said, Pete, in terms of, which I do agree with, if we're getting rid of possibly 2, 3, maybe even 4 goalkeepers, I do think we'll keep John Ruddy on. Say we're getting rid of 3 goalkeepers, you need that consistency. You need that person in who knows the score, knows the ropes, will look after them. I know where you can go for something to eat, or I know where you put your shoes after you're finished, and just all little things like that to help players blend in. And we've seen it on the Newcastle United videos, that everyone really likes Mark Gillespie, and we've seen and heard that the players like adore him and think he's brilliant, he's good crack and everything. I think he's here for the duration, mate. I think in 10 years' time, when we're still doing loads of mag, I think he will still be in our squad. Mate, I do. I just think I think he's here forever. I think he's here forever. Yeah. Mate, I reckon even if they offered him half his wages, he'd probably still do it. Because what else is he going to do? Because he probably is his standard, Mark Gillespie, no offense to him. It's probably like League Two, maybe even lower than that. So would you rather be on the same wage as being in a League Two squad and playing every week? Or would you rather be in a Premier League squad with elite players on the same money, going to Saudi Arabia every 4 or 5 months, living at home where you're from? I don't know. Yeah, there you go. Sophie B, why would you ever want to leave the club he loves and doesn't do much? He doesn't complain. It's just the dream job. It's the dream job.
Sophie B, I hope you subscribe to this channel because you throw some bombs tonight. That's for sure.
She has. Oh, Claire G, don't depress us, Chris.
I agree with Claire on that one. Yeah. 42 years old, he's still at the club. Jesus Christ! But hey, if he's on $2.5 a week, then that's all good.
He's fine.
I'm mindful we're nearly gone 2 hours, which is amazing. And to be fair, it's flown by. I thought we probably could have gone for another hour, but let's throw some quick questions out there that people are putting in the chat, fella.
Yeah, let's do it. Mark Gillespie, loving. I'm here for it. I am here for it, Michael. I'm here for it. Right, so a few more star questions. I'll whiz through these. So Ivor Svar says, is a City win best for us? I think we said it wasn't it, Pete? Knock Chelsea down a touch, because I think realistically we all know. I mean, draw would have been lovely, but we all know that City will most probably be in that top 4 come the end of the season. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was a case of, if we wanted one result, it was the draw. But if anyone was to win, it was City, because the reason you've just said, we expect City to be up there. Chelsea have been massively inconsistent, and that inconsistency continuing is only a good thing for us. So take it all day long.
Totally, mate. Totally. I did like this. He always comes in the chat, and I do love him. Todd Bowley. It's always great that he joins loads of mag. Good evening, gentlemen. Is Alexander for sale? No. How about Sandro? No. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you for asking those questions, Todd.
I've got a question for you in the chat, really, really quickly.
Go on, mate.
Sandro Tonali, we signed him for £55 million from AC Milan. Looking at the performances he's putting in today, sensational again today. Brilliant. Scored a goal, but his groundwork is winning the ball that created the goal, everything that he does about his game. What's his value now? We're not selling him, by the way.
It's a great question.
What's his value now?
Great question.
Up on 55 million, but what is it now?
I think, and this is me playing it down a little bit as well, because some people may say, "Oh, he's worth more than that." I think, given that he's only just come into the number 6 and he's starting to show his potential, but if he does it over sustained periods, and if he gets us into Champions League, I think the price skyrockets, and I think next season he's going to be unbelievable. If a club, I'm not going to say if we were to sell him, because I don't think we would sell him, but I think if a club were to come in, if I was an outsider, if I was a Real Madrid or Barcelona or someone like that, and I wanted to sign Sandro Tonali, the figure that I would put on his head at the moment from an outsider looking in is probably around 90 million. That's what I think. Has he got the potential to be much higher? Yes. And, you know, people will be going, what about Rice? What about Caicedo? But no. But I mean in terms of their price that they went for, because they would go, well, they were 105 million, they were 115 million. Yeah. And eventually, exactly. That's exactly it. And his ceiling is far bigger than those, far bigger. But I think right now, I think other clubs would value him around 90 million. Would Newcastle take it? Absolutely not, because they know that there's far more to come. I think eventually, I think we're probably looking at that figure. Yeah, will absolutely. Yeah. It's that and climbing. I'm on 90 and climbing, but yeah, we're on the same ballpark there, mate. Yeah, 90 with far higher. Yeah, Claire. That's what I am, Pete. But what about you?
Well, with I think Rod will talk about Isak.
Isak, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think, was Enzo to 120? Was he?
I think Enzo was on. It might be, yeah. I thought he was 105. Well, maybe it was
more, actually.
It might have been more.
It might have been 110, I think. He wasn't, because Rice was 105. I think Enzo was at 110, maybe a little bit more than that. I could be wrong. But
Caicedo was 115, wasn't he? Yeah, I thought
he was more than that. Like, for me, I'm looking at Sandro and I'm like, he's outperforming Caicedo. Like, Caicedo's playing right back for Chelsea. Like, Sandro's doing the business in the 6th. Like, for me, like if you're going to put Caicedo in that conversation of 115, you're putting Sandro at least at that same value. But ultimately, the key thing is, and everyone's putting their opinions in. So if you be, Kenzie's putting their opinions in. We've gone through the whole list. We're not selling him.
No,
he's staying. No. For me, like honestly, in the summer, as we said, Isak, new contract. Tonali, new contract. I said to you boys, when the gambling ban was put in place, we're going back over a year ago now. What did I say to you boys when we did that show? I said to you, he'll come back. One of the things he needs to do is prove his quality at Newcastle United. And the second thing, he needs to tie himself down for Newcastle United, even if it is the additional year that he missed whilst he was on his ban.
I think he'd do that as well. I think he'd do that.
At the absolute least, he needs to extend his current contract by an additional year to give us the year back that he missed at the absolute least. But if we get Champions League football this season, if we're lucky enough to get that, I think it'll extend for longer. And I think we'll get both of those deals done, because the money that we would generate from the Champions League will allow us to be able to flex our muscle, to be able to pen down Isak, to pen down Tonali.
Yeah.
I think we keep Bruno Guimaraes naturally because we're playing Champions League football. And that's where it gets interesting, because I think we'd add to what we've got. But we just need to get it. And this is the key. We need to keep winning. We need to keep doing what we're doing right now to get that Champions League football. But any couple of questions before we wrap, fella?
Yeah, I'm going to throw some really quick ones, or I'm going to put some comments on, and you can just say yes, no, whether you agree or not. But I'll throw a few ones on. But I need to mention Marty. Marty, I do apologise, mate. Super sticker, thank you so much. Completely missed that, mate. But thank you. Next time, make sure you get a little comment in there as well, Marty. But thank you for the support, mate. Really do appreciate it. Let's see. This one made me laugh, Pete. This one did make me laugh. Well, the next two made me laugh. So the Clon lad says, "Shite, it's my wife's birthday on the 26th of February as well." So Clon lads, yeah, you're gonna have to, he's gonna have to be careful. Gonna have to be careful. Now this next one, I'm gonna whisper. Okay. Kenzie says, "Is Lisa a great age?"
Lisa.
That's all I'm gonna say. My wife.
Oh, I can't believe it.
She's not a great age. She's not. Great wife, not a great age. Bloody hell, I said that too loud, didn't I? I said that far too loud. Yeah, great wife, not a great age.
I'm not saying a word.
No. You can't respond to that, Pete. You can't. I'm so glad she's not watching it. I hope she doesn't bounce in the chat now.
She will be, though.
I know. I'll go off and she'll be like, "You bastard." Right, let me see. What else have we got? Little quickies. Pete, I've got to give your man a shout out. You mentioned it as well in our chat today. Shout out to Murphy. 8 assists in the Premier League now. That's put him 4th on the list. Who says we need a new right winger? Now I will join in the clapping. We do need a new right winger.
We do.
Full credit though. Full credit to Jacob Murphy. And it was a great assist as well, Pete. It was a great assist.
Brilliant assist. And the level of the pass, the quality, everything about it is exactly what Isak needed. But Andy, the reality is we need 2 players in every position. And if we're going to leave or let Miggy leave, we need someone that's going to come in and be that Miggy replacement. We have to. That's not to say that Jacob Murphy is not going to continue to start for Newcastle United. As we know, every new player that comes into the club needs to be Eddie Howe fit, Eddie Howe ready, and that takes time. And we ease them in. We look at Tino Livramento, we look at Hall, we look at players, Anthony Gordon, for example, when he first came in. We need that player to come in and be ready to step into that role if needed. But yeah, Murphy, 8 assists this season for me. I'm looking at Jacob Murphy and I'm thinking, your target for me, 13 assists. Yeah. Another 5 on top of what he's already done. Yeah, more than achievable.
Why not?
Why not? The season, and if not more. Like, forget the goals. If he adds goals to his assists, even better. But let's target 13 assists. Let's see if we can get double figures and then get into the 10, 12, 13. Let's go into there because he's been outstanding. Fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are a few comments. I want to say a big congratulations there to David R. Just travelling back from the game. Hope you enjoyed the game, mate. I'm sure you did. So well done on that, mate. That away end was incredible today. Special moment for Miggy with the 3,000 chanting his name. David R. also says, I think Forest will now crumble after that today. Bournemouth, however, 11 unbeaten and smashing teams for fun. They must be targeting top 4, top 5 with us. I think they absolutely are, David. I think you're on the money with that. Ivor says again, City, good win for us. I think they're going to be in the top 5 anyway. Yeah, that's what we said before. I think that's exactly it. I also want to touch on what you were saying, Pete, about players being Eddie Howe ready, and this is just a comment, really, just an observation. But I was really surprised Kushinov started today. I must be honest, because he's only a young lad, brand new to the country, can't speak English apparently. And to throw him in the way he did, I haven't seen the goal yet, but apparently he was at fault for the Chelsea goal. And I just, do you know what? I'm trying to be a nice point of view. I hope it doesn't ruin his confidence, because he did look, when I saw him come off, subbed early in the second half. He did look really downhearted. I know Pep gave him a big hug and all that, but it just made me think at that moment, Eddie Howe wouldn't have done that. Eddie Howe would not have started him today if we'd assigned him. Just wouldn't have done it. And I just wonder whether that was the right choice. Because, you know, I'm pretty confident he will do well with City, and I think he's got lots of potential. But I just wonder whether throwing him in for such a big game on his debut, I just wonder whether that was the right decision. The fact that Pep pulled him. Don't know. Any thoughts on that, Pete?
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts on this because look, a couple of days ago, LB was trying to rub it in to me, the fact that they'd signed him and we didn't. Obviously talking about what the agent had said, it was close to Newcastle, but Man City came in, blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to emphasize the point of what I've said tonight is that you paid more than double of what we were willing to pay and what his actual value was from Lons. And the fact you've come in means that they've expected more money. He didn't quite get that, but what the point that I mentioned to him, and I said it the other day, and I reiterated it tonight, is that he is a raw young talent. He is a quality player. There's no doubt about it, but he's raw. He needs time to build and develop as a player. He's not a player that I would have thrown into the team. I said it on the 12th man chat tonight. I said I wouldn't have started him when you've got John Stones on the bench. You give John Stones 60 minutes and then you bring Kusanov on for his debut after that to see the game out. You don't start him in that position. And I think that was I almost felt like the occasion maybe got the better of him early on, I have to say. They scored the early goal. He made the mistake. He should have won the header initially. And then when he tries to head it back to the goalkeeper, he doesn't get enough on it. They nick in. They get the goal off the back of it. And you can see the confidence kind of drained from him. He then literally 2 minutes later gets a yellow card because he lunges into a tackle and he's getting nowhere near it. He gives a free kick away. It's a yellow card. And he almost kind of, he swears like in French off the back of conceding that free kick. And you know, in his mind, he's thinking, you know, he's struggling right now. I wouldn't have put him under that pressure. Eddie Howe, like you said, wouldn't have put him under that pressure. But there's no doubt that he is going to be a quality centre-back. Once Pep gets to work with him, he will be absolutely fine. We knew he was coming in and he wasn't quite the finished article because he's 20 years old. He doesn't speak a word of English. At least when we had Leon for the transfer show, he said that. He speaks Russian and that's it. Like, he speaks his own language. He speaks Russian. He doesn't speak English. So he's developing himself, but he will be a quality player. And the one thing I'll say to you is after the mistake that he made early on in the game, I actually thought he was really solid after that. Didn't really create any issues for himself. Thought he was solid, won the ball well, distributed the ball well. And I think maybe at that point they brought him off just to say, you know what, you finished the game really well. You started a little bit rocky, but you came through it really well. And bringing him off was kind of like, we didn't want you to have a bad moment to end the game to cause any issues. We brought the player on to see the game out, and they've almost protected him in that sense. But I would have done it the other way around. I'd have started Stones and brought Kusanov at the end of the game. But yeah, he's a quality player. Gutted to miss out on him. But look, as it is with the transfer windows and everything else, I believe in Paul Mitchell to find another Kusanov, and we'll be better off for it.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I'm gonna whiz through these, mate, because we are gonna wrap up. Right, Alan Thompson, massive 3-point lads. Don't care if it was just Southampton. Wolfie must be feeling how we felt last week. Everyone must take Bournemouth seriously now. Totally agree, lads. For the first time in years, I actually want Man United to get a draw, so the gap is starting to show. Chris in the top 10 you mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. Quick one on this, Pete. Lewis Skelly straight red for Arsenal today, which is great for our second leg in the Carabao Cup. The lad looks a talent. Me personally, I don't know if you've seen it. I would be absolutely horrified if that wasn't overturned. Have you seen it yet?
I have seen it. I think it's look, as much as I'm glad that he got a red card, and at this moment in time, he misses second leg of the Carabao at this moment in time. But I'm watching that and I'm thinking that's an absolutely shocking decision. It was Michael Oliver as well, Newcastle fan of all
Michael
people.
Oliver.
Yeah. You know, we're loving it in this fact, but Arsenal fans are typical Arsenal fans are catching on to it. Michael Oliver's done this because he wants him out of the second leg. He wants him stopping Arsenal getting to the final. They've already started it. They started it literally 5 minutes after he got the red card.
Because that's going to make the difference.
Of course. And you know, there's already a witch hunt for Oliver. To be fair, it's a poor decision. It's a really poor decision. It's not a red card at all. Like, he's literally only just out of his own box before he gets brought down. He gets a red card. There's 2 or 3 Arsenal players that are more than covering that situation. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, anyway, it's nuts. It's nuts.
At this moment in time, he's missing the game. I don't know whether it's going to be overturned because of the stature of referee in the situation. I don't know whether it will. For me, it's 50-50. It probably should be overturned. I don't know whether it will because of the stature of referee, and because he's considered the best referee in the country. I think it would massively harm the level of referee if they overturned it. I don't know. It's up to the gods. They'll decide.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 more, mate. 2 more. And this next one, I just want one word answer from you, right? The Clon lad says, is Walker Peters a free agent in June? Yes, he is. He will be a handy pickup. Do you want him, Pete? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. I think, and he impressed me today, actually. I thought he looked very tidy on the ball. I thought he looked really, really good. And the fact that we know he can play right back, left back, I think it'd be a great squad fella. Really, really, especially if we were to get rid of Kieran Trippier in the summer. I think he'd be a fantastic replacement. I really, really do. I think he would add to this Newcastle squad. Last question before we wrap up. I love this from the Clon lads as well. It just so happens to be the Clon lads again. Who has the highest ceiling in your opinion, Sandro or Bruno? I've got my answer.
If you're asking me right now, I'd say Sandro. Sandro's younger.
Yeah.
Sandro's in a position where there are a very small amount of players in Europe or even the world that can play that position as good as Sandro Tonali can play it. Bruno can play number 6 and he's played it well, but being the complete player as a number 6 is very difficult. And Sandro's playing that extremely well right now. The fact that opposition teams and fans are saying that Sandro Tonali could be the next Rodri tells you everything you need to know of what his ceiling potentially could be. Yeah. And it just makes me so proud, the fact that he plays for Newcastle United and he's doing the business and making people feel like that whilst playing for our club. So the fact that Bruno's 27, is going to be 28 within the year. Sandro's going to be 25 within this year. I think the fact that he's got years upon Bruno means that he's got a bigger ceiling off that. But what's your thoughts on that?
Same. I think Sandro has the higher ceiling. I absolutely adore Bruno, and I think Bruno is an absolutely brilliant player. But I just think Sandro Tonali, I think he could be one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. And I think next season is going to be huge for him. I think if we get Champions League football or European football, Sandro Tonali, he's a game changer. And I just think he's got everything. I think Bruno technically is absolutely wonderful. And we talk about the balance in the midfield. You know, we've got Joe with his strength and, you know, the fact that he gets about the pitch and he puts himself about. And, you know, with Bruno, we know he's more technical, not as quick or pacey. And but, you know, technically he's absolutely brilliant. But then you've got Sandro Tonali, who kind of molds the 3 of them together. And I think you made the point, actually, Pete, a couple of weeks ago, in that Sandro can do the Joe Linton role and the Bruno role. He can do both. But he's an individual in himself. And that's why I think he could be... Sandro Tonali could go anywhere. He could go absolutely anywhere. And if, you know, Real Madrid come in from him, it just wouldn't surprise me because he's that good. And he just makes the game look so easy. So, yeah, for me, it's Sandro Tonali, but I'm not downplaying, you know, Joe Linton or Bruno in that. I just think Sandro Tonali is he's just a complete natural. And I think he's absolutely brilliant. And like you say, we're very, very lucky to have him. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, Pete, and I hope you'll know what I mean by this. You mentioned this at the start of the show, but Friday81 says, can we have a minute's silence for Wolfies Nottingham Forest today? I can't guarantee a minute's silence, but I'm not going to do it just yet because you might want to wrap up with some stuff, but I'm pretty sure we can do a 1 minute 11 video for Wolfie. Just a suggestion.
1 minute 11?
Yeah. And an outro, you might say.
Oh yeah. We can definitely do that. But the one thing I'd say from Wolfie is he's reeling right now. He's struggling. I spoke to him earlier on today, and he's angry, he's frustrated, he's contemplating lots of different things right now. We're going to tap into this next week and Top Table Talk. There's no doubt about it.
We can invite him. We can invite him.
The invitation's already there, fella. He's already been invited. He's the first one.
Might not need one of these.
Yeah, he won't need these bad boys, but he's the first one to the table. And so, yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting conversation with him. But what I want to do just before we shoot is give a little bit of a shout out to our main sponsor. Brilliant stuff from our sponsor. Always a massive support. So make sure you go and support the Radiator Shed. Russ and the team are there to help you on hand for anything you need. If you need a radiator for these tough, wintry, stormy times, the Radiator Shed are the ones to call. So make sure you get on top of that and you get involved on that as well. Lisa, nice to join us. Hope you're well. But yeah, Sophie, Michael, and many others in the chat tonight. Appreciate your comments. Conrad as well. Great stuff as well. Supporting the channel, of course, as always. And the spanners in the works, including Lisa. Massive thanks to you to supporting us in everything that we do. If you haven't already, click that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The likes ensure that more people get to see the great content that we feel that we put on, and we thank you for that, as you can see on the screen. But make sure that you are liking and subscribing. And if you haven't already, make sure that you click the notification, because the notification bell allows you to be aware of any shows that are available as and when they get created. And with the transfer window, with anything that's coming up right now, we create shows on a whim, and it's important that you are aware and you know what's happening. However, we're wrapped up for tonight. We're going to celebrate the fantastic win. This is going to keep rolling, by the way. It's a brilliant win tonight. We're rolling on to Fulham next weekend. Our tails are up absolutely 100%. But Chris, how would you like us to see out this show tonight?
Mate, there's only one way we can. There's only one way we can, and I'm going to do this.
Absolutely. The main man, our 17 goals goal scorer this season, our 5 assister this season, the best striker in the Premier League, arguably the best striker in Europe. It's an Alexander Isak. Good night, people. Take care.
sir.